Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Steward's office. I'm Sarah, and this week we have a guest on the podcast, the wonderful Jenny Fletcher from Girls on Track. And I am so excited to have this conversation with her and share it with you guys. Jenny's done an incredible job at building a community at Girls on Track and helping get more girls, young women, and women into motorsport at all different stages of their career. Whether they're just starting out or transitioning into motorsport, Girls on Track provides an amazing community to support girls. Thank you so much for doing this. I am super excited about the episode because I love Girls on Track. I love what it's done for the community. So if we start off by having a chat about what Girls on Track is for people who don't know about it yet and what your role is in it as well.
Absolutely. So my name's Jenny Fletcher. I am the Girls on Track UK Programme Manager. I have had the pleasure of working with this programme it's in its 9th year now, which is really exciting. So formerly the Girls on Track programme was Dare to be Different. And Dare to be Different was a charity that was started by Susie Wolf. Susie Wolf, who of course most people will know, is now leading the way with the F1 Academy. But at the time she was retiring from Williams as a test development driver and wanted to give something back to the next generation. She felt that there weren't enough positive female role models across the breadth of the sport for young girls to look up to and aspire to see that actually there is a rightful place in the industry. So she started this charity, Dare to be Different. I saw a Sky Sports news article about the programme. Previously, I was a primary school teacher, loved teaching, loved working and engaging and inspiring the young students. But I felt I needed a change. I needed to do something different. On paper, I had my teaching degree, but that was pretty much it. I didn't really have much experience of anything else other than waitressing when I was doing my degree. And I knew that I loved motorsport. But at the time, I didn't have a route in. I didn't know anybody in the industry. LinkedIn wasn't a thing. There was no real way of connecting with anybody. And then I saw this article and I thought, okay, hang on a minute. This is young girls. This is inspiring. This is motorsport, educational. This is my dream job if I could ever have written one for myself. But how do I get in touch and, just say hi and do you need any help?
Yeah.
So I went to info@susiewolf.com, sent a very generic email. Sorry, no, I didn't send a generic email. I sent an email to a generic email address, info@, not really expecting it to be picked up. And I ultimately was just offering to help support. And, I knew schools, I knew children, I knew the curriculum. Let me know if I can volunteer to help. Never for a second thought I'd hear back from the email, but I did, from a lovely lady called Claudia, who was starting up the program with Susie. And she said, well, we're launching at Autosport 2016. So in the January after that autumn, come along and say hi. So my stepdad, who was my inspiration into the sport, I said to him, come on, Graham, we're going to the Autosport show. Do you fancy it? He said, yeah, absolutely, because he was a massive petrol head. So we went over to the stand. Luckily, at the time I went, she was there. Susie, that was. So I'd taken my iPad with photos of things I've done in the classroom with the children. I created this whole project called The Need for Speed, which integrated all the different subjects, so geography, history, science, into the context of motorsport. Yeah. So I shared all this with her. I explained, how I could support and what I could do. And she said, well, look, you're clearly very passionate. You are obviously organized being a teacher. Like, you cannot be a teacher and not be organized. That is one fundamental thing you need. I need someone to run this program. Do you want the position of managing it for the UK? So I sort of sat there and of course, yes, wow, sounds amazing. And then sort of walked off and, oh my goodness, one of those pinch me moments. Did it really happen? Then reality steps in and it's like, oh, okay, maybe she just got carried away. I probably won't hear from her, but I did. I heard from her the next day, which was incredible. And she said, look, I want to meet to chat about how this could work. So I had to go in and tell my head teacher on the Monday, sorry, I wasn't going to be coming to staff meeting. I potentially had another job, which I think came as a bit of a shock. So I met with Susie. We chatted about how it could work, what it could look like. Obviously, I was tied into teaching. With teaching, you have to give it a full term's notice. Mm-hmm. But she said, look, let's trial this. Let's see if it works, because you're leaving a government-funded, stable job. Yeah. I was in a senior leadership position as well for effectively a startup charity. So we need to see if this is right for you and if you're right for us, which was incredibly fair. So I did it voluntarily until February half term, whilst literally having an Outlook account 24 hours after, not having a clue how to use it. I think even at the time it was probably Hotmail or something ridiculous. So massive like dive into the deep end of this, the start of this charity that had been created, and I had nothing to do with it, to learning all about it. And then it got to February half term. We both knew that it was working. Obviously, I then still had to give my terms notice, so I continued. So I did it for 3 months voluntarily, whilst also teaching full time. Do not know how there were enough hours in the day, but it was something I was incredibly passionate about and wanted to make work. So I did. So I'd spent sort of the weeks up to Easter planning the first schools event, which was straight after the Easter holidays, ringing up schools and teachers in my lunchtime and break time, trying to get them to come along to an event about a sport that's never talked about at school. With a lady running it that, unless you know motorsport, you wouldn't have a clue who she was. And for a startup brand new charity. So it was a challenge, but we got the schools there. We did the first event. When I look back on it, I think, oh my goodness, that was not slick. That was, so many things needed changing, but it was a massive, massive learning curve. And it was the start of, a job that I absolutely adore and feel very blessed to be a part of, and to have been with it since its infancy, to be part of the way that it's been molded and scoped along the way. And then, of course, the other side of the program is the community, which is just growing from strength to strength. And the number of people that now 9 years on are working in the sport, and say that part of it was due to the opportunity they had at a networking event or an email introduction that someone was able to make, is really heartwarming. And it shows that it worked. And it's one of those things, it's nice to talk about the impact that you're having, but actually there is proof in the pudding. There are these women that are working in industry, and they feel that a big part of that was thanks to Girls on Track, or what was Dare to Be Different. So that in a nutshell is my background and what the program is all about. Just trying to inspire, nurture, and belong these women of all ages, all interests, but that one passion, that one common goal, and that's a love for motorsport.
And I love that you've been there since the start. So you've really seen how it's grown over the last 9 years, and that's got to be such an amazing feeling to see.
It really is. And we were at Silverstone on Saturday for a community event with the British GT, and we were, talking, and one of the panelists, she works for Century Motorsport, and I didn't realize till she was talking on the panel that she got her opportunity through the community, because someone posted about a volunteering opportunity. So she went to volunteer and then ended up with it full time. And it's all it's like just pops out of nowhere, and you think, oh wow, that's incredible to see all these little things of people that it's made a difference to. So no, it's lovely.
That's incredible. I love that. If we go back a little bit towards when you first got the opportunity, what was that transition like from teaching into motorsport? Because I think a lot of people, especially around my age, who got into uni, got into a job, and then were like, I'd love to try and find a path into motorsport. But transitioning can be terrifying when you think about it.
Yeah, it was terrifying. It was a sport that I was a fan of, and that was it. The whole concept of, am I really meant to be here? I didn't apply for this job. I didn't really interview other than having a chat with someone. So it does make you question, should I have the role? And, my knowledge, my interest in motorsport was, as a lot of people, it was F1. Like, I didn't know anything about grassroots motorsport. I'd probably not even heard the word grassroots. I didn't know about karting pathways. There was a lot that I didn't know. So it was scary. It was hard work, because I was teaching, at the same time. So I think maybe in a way that was a good thing, because I didn't have time to actually stop and properly think this through. And my family were incredibly supportive. But, there was always going to be that question in their mind, is this right? You're in the 10th year of teaching now. Is it right to leave and go and do something that is effectively brand new? And, we sort of talked about it a lot, and we sort of concluded that actually I'm never not going to be a teacher on my CV. I've always got that qualification. And should it have not worked, I would have hopefully got a teaching job, not at the amazing school that I was at, but I could have got something. But luckily, touch wood, so far, that's not had to happen. But I think in terms of transitioning, I obviously went into, my role now is not a STEM-based role. So it's not the sort of traditional engineering or mechanics or anything like that. My job is events. It's about creating opportunity. And actually, those skills were very much the same as what I would do in teaching. You know, the organization that you have to have, the ability to communicate with various different stakeholders, whether that's an eight-year-old young girl that's crying because she's too nervous to get into a go-kart, to try and encourage and support her to do that, right up to talking to the CEO of a big company about what I do. So a lot of transferable skills, but yes, it was frightening, but the best thing that I ever did career-wise. And I don't regret it for a second.
And I think I hear that from a lot of people who make that transition. It's sometimes just taking the chance, like you said,
It
it was
is.
sending that
Yeah.
email and just doing it.
100%. 100%. And what's so lovely is that, you know, again, for example, on Saturday, and this happens at all of the community events we do where we have panels of women speaking that are working in industry. They're doing a real range of job roles. You know, we had a couple of mechanics working on the car. We had an events lady from Silverstone. We had an organizer from SRO Motorsport. So huge variety.
Yeah.
But it's the same messages that come across. Put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of rejection. It's going to happen. You need to build yourself up. It's a difficult industry to get in, regardless of your gender. So you've got to be resilient, but be persistent as well. You know, motorsport is very aware that there is a shortage of women. You know, it's around 10% of females to 90% of males. They know they need more diversity to have these high performing workplaces and teams.
Yeah.
So they want it. They want the influence and the different ideas that women will bring to a garage and a team. So just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You know, the absolute worst you're ever going to get is no. And that really is it. You know, be polite. Don't be a pest, but you can be persistent politely because you want to make sure that you are being noticed and that, you know, you're not just saying, oh, I want a job in motorsport. I'll do absolutely anything. You're being a little bit more targeted to show that you've thought about it. So you might not know exactly what you want your job role to be, but you know whether you like the sort of the broadcasting, social media, PR type side, or you know whether you're the more practical STEM problem solving side. You know what kind of person you are. You might not know exactly what that job is. So just be, you know, informative and show that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it as well, because when we look a lot at F1 and other motorsports, we look at drivers and engineers, but there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. And I think Girls on Track
100%.
does a fantastic job at highlighting all of those jobs.
And I think it's really important that we do because, you know, one Formula One team, 2 drivers, maybe 1 or 2 test drivers, 1,500 to 2,000 people behind the scenes. Every single one of them has an essential job to making sure that those cars go around the track as fast as possible. And that common goal, that camaraderie is so important. And it's what brings the passion to the people that work in the industry as well as to the fans. And, you know, there's so many jobs that are based in the factory. They never go to any races. But when speaking to them, they love watching it because they know that they've had some contribution to that car, whether it be a washer design or testing the parts. Literally, whatever it is, it's this big one family that is making the cars the best that they can be. And drivers, of course, you've got the human performance as well.
They're kind of important too.
Yeah.
But it is about community though, isn't it? That's a lot of what motorsport comes down to, is having that community around you.
100%. And I think that's what I love as a fan. So before I was even working in the sport was, you know, you'd go along to a race weekend and you're sitting next to someone that's maybe wearing a Ferrari cap, a Red Bull top. You know, there's a mixture, and it's some people that follow the drivers, some people follow the teams, some people don't have a particular affiliation. You know, they just love that, the adrenaline that comes with it, and the excitement and the cheering. And it's a lovely sport to watch. It's exciting, and working in it is it's just fantastic.
I know we touched on it a little bit before when you were talking about what you really need to do to try and make that transfer and transition into a different role in motorsport from something that you might not have been doing in the first place. But what would be your biggest piece of advice for someone that's looking to make that move into motorsport?
I would say networking. I would say networking, connections, putting yourself out there, sending that email, picking up the phone, sending a LinkedIn request, remembering that people are busy, especially if they're on the race teams, you know, 23, 24, however many races it is this weekend. I'm exactly the same. I might pick up on a LinkedIn message at the weekend or when I'm in the middle of a meeting with the best intention of the world. I want to get back to that person. but life's busy. I will
Yeah.
eventually get around as much as I can. But yeah, getting in touch, showing people who you are. And I think, I say this quite a lot to the community is, use the fact that you're female as a superpower.
Yeah.
There are less of us, and you want to be remembered. You want to be noticed, but be noticed for being a woman, but also for your passion and the way that
Yeah.
you communicate with people and what you want to get out of it, because you've got to be quite specific, in my opinion, of what you want to do. If
Yeah.
Susie said to me, "Oh, Jenny, I'd love you to come and work at Mercedes as an engineer," absolutely not. I do not have that brain, but
Yeah.
I do have the skill set for planning, events and experiences and bringing people together. So go with your strengths, go with
Yeah.
what you enjoy. And I think something that I'm not great at and trying to be better is just having that confidence and self-belief
Yeah.
that you are meant to be there. And if this is something you want, yes, you're going to have to work hard, but you do have a rightful place to be there. So believe in yourself. And that is, I think, what's really lovely about the community events is that you can just feel the
Yeah.
support in the room. And, these women on the panel that had never met anyone in the audience saying to me at the end, "Oh, tell them to come down to Jolt Racing, be more than happy to show them around." And they felt it. They could see how much the people in the audience were just listening and taking on board every bit of advice. We had people note taking, it brings to their eyes the importance of what they're doing. They are
Yeah.
positive female role models working in
Yeah.
the sport.
Definitely.
And I think sometimes when you're young, so the mechanics are fairly junior in their positions, perhaps only been in the position for a year, or it might have been their first season, to be sat there in front of a room of people that want to listen to you and hear about your journeys is really confidence building. And it's what
Yeah.
we should be doing. We should be celebrating. We should be building each other up,
Yeah.
because there's not enough of us. So let's keep pushing everyone to, to get in and be the best that they can be.
No, absolutely. I think that's such a key part, is having that confidence and belief in
Yeah.
yourself, because it does project outwards and people can see like you're
100%.
carrying yourself like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So 9 years with Girls on Track, which used to be Dare to Be Different. How much have you seen the motorsport world progress in terms of getting more diversity in the workforce, getting more girls into engineering and all aspects of motorsport?
Seen a big change, a really
Yeah.
big change. I think things like the W Series brought to the profile, the female drivers. It's a shame that that wasn't able to continue.
Yeah.
But things like the F1 Academy, obviously raising the profile of female drivers. Obviously, the ultimate goal is that they won't be racing single gender. It will be, they
Yeah.
will then transition back into other formulas. But I think things like, more than equal,
Yeah.
W Series, F1 Academy, Drive to Survive. I think there's been so much to bring to the forefront that there is a space for women in the sport. And traditionally, it might not be thought so, but there is. I think there's a lot more that can be done. I think there's a lot more coverage that should go around females working in the spaces. And like you said about the sort of more hidden roles, I think there's a lot more that can be done to promote those. It's exciting, the F1 Academy Netflix series that's coming out
Yeah.
in May. I think that's going to be, again, a real boost. But I think even the words EDI, sustainability,
Yeah.
diversity and inclusion, they're new words in the industry. Like, they weren't around when Dare to Be Different first started. That's really come in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. And it's now very much on people's agendas. What is lovely from my side is that because we are so well established and because we have now got that brand identity and people can see the talent that we have in the community, is that we're now approached by teams. Our McLaren Nurture Group, they want to work with us for the second year. So we have a group of 50 women who have either graduated 2023, 24 or this year. They don't have to be studying motorsport, but they have to be studying a degree with a passion and an interest for working in motorsport. And the reason they've been quite specific with the years of graduation is because that is then perfect for their early careers talent pathway pipeline into industry. They know they need more females. They want more females. And they know that we have the talented, passionate women that want to work in the sport. So it's kind of a no-brainer, really. We're supporting them with hopefully future industry, and they're supporting our community members by giving them invaluable advice, invaluable opportunities to network, to meet people that work at the team, to hear their stories, to find out their advice, because at the end of the day, you need that information, you need that experience to build yourself as a person, and also to put it on your CV. Being part of the McLaren F1 nurture group is
it's a
quite
huge
a big
thing.
deal.
Yeah, definitely.
And also things like at the weekend, one of the British GT racing teams, Orange Racing, was there. Now we started this relationship with SRO Motorsport last year, and they offered us their hospitality space for the Saturday of the Donington round in May. And the reason that they offered it to us, again, it was someone that was in the community, saw a volunteering opportunity with SRO weekends, went for that, ended up with the job of managing the whole hospitality space. So she reached out to me saying, look, I'm so grateful for me being able to see this opportunity. I'd love to give something back. So that's how the sort of events on the race weekend work. And then we had one girl, Amy, who was in the audience for the May event last year. She went on a garage tour to Orange Racing. She's studying, I think it's mechanical engineering at King's College in London. She went back to the team after the garage tour, was chatting to the team principal saying, look, this is what I'm doing. I'd love some shadowing experience or opportunity. They were really impressed with her outgoingness and the fact she put herself out there. They offered her a couple of weekends last year, and they were so impressed with her. She's got the full season for 2025.
That's
now,
amazing.
that would not have happened if she hadn't have been there.
Yeah.
B, put herself forward, and C, impressed them with her thirst for knowledge.
Yeah.
And the team got in touch with me and they said, look, we've been so impressed with Amy. We want to do more of this. So we've now got 6 girls from the community, each doing a different British GT round this season, which, it speaks volumes for how we are being perceived in industry and the quality and the talent of these young women. So it's wonderful. And I went down to see Sophie. She was there this weekend and she had a headset on and she'd been asking loads of questions. And it's what it's all about.
That's incredible. And it's so lovely to see teams at all different levels
100%.
wanting to get involved.
Yeah. And actually, yes, for some people, their dream job is to go straight into an F1 team. Yeah. But actually, if you're going to a lower formula, you're getting to do more, you're getting more experience. Yeah. It's slightly less pressured, still very, very pressured and incredibly busy, but slightly less pressured. So you get more of a chance to ask those questions and to learn without feeling like, oh gosh, I can't put a toenail out of line. And then you build yourself up and you get that experience. And hopefully if that is what they want, then, F1 will be waiting for them.
Yeah, and I think that's something I really see in the Facebook group as well. Is a lot of the opportunities that are posted. It's not just Formula One, it's all of these different series, giving girls a chance to volunteer or to apply for a job and reminding them that, F1 is great, but it's not the only place in motorsport you can find a job.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes you get slightly more excitement from the lower formulas as well. F1 is fantastic, but it is quite not so much this season, but typically from who's on qualify, what the order is.
100%.
Whereas touring cars and British GT, it's anyone's game. So it does have a different level of excitement. And they're just such lovely paddocks as well. They're really, really family orientated, super friendly. It's great and they've even got our logo on their car, which made me feel very proud. Yeah. Very, very proud to see that whizzing round and you could say, oh, there's a Girls on Track logo.
It deserves to be on a car because the work you guys are doing is incredible.
Oh, thank you.
And it has made a lot of progress. And I think I see it when I see more female engineers on TV. It's such a brilliant feeling. But I think we all also know there's still a long way to go in getting that inclusion and diversity.
Yeah.
So what do you think is probably the biggest obstacle that we're facing right now?
It's really, really hard to narrow it down to any one point because I think we need to keep championing one another. We need to keep building up resilience and confidence because it's that classic thing. If typically a man will look at a job description and if there's one thing he can do, he'll apply for it anyway and try and blag it. If you're female, will do it. There's one thing she can't do. Even if she could do 90% of the rest, she may not apply for it for that fear of not being able to do that one thing. So I think confidence is a huge, huge thing. I think experience as well. And it's like we said, it's great that more experience is coming, but I get so many emails and so many posts like you'll see on the Facebook group. Where can I get experience? Because that's what people need.
Yeah.
to see on a CV, and the girls need the experience. So it's a bit like a chicken and an egg.
Yeah, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
which one sort of comes first? But I think getting that experience, getting out there and really getting your hands in is so important. And it's great that teams like Orange Racing are doing that. But can you imagine if every team in
Yeah.
every championship could just do even if it's one weekend of their series
Yeah.
for the whole year, how many more opportunities there would be?
It'd be
It
insane.
would be
Such a
it would
valuable
be
experience.
amazing. Exactly. And, you know, the fact that so the areas of interest for the girls for the British GT through Orange
Mhm.
Racing is mechanics or engineering, but they could do social media, they could do sort of whole operations, they could do logistics.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different areas that they could get shadowing experience from. So yeah, I would say that that is probably the biggest barrier from my perception when I'm thinking about our community. But I think, like we said, increasing the visibility of
Yeah.
women in all of those different job roles is absolutely crucial to make these young girls that are watching it on the television not question why there aren't any women they can see,
Yeah.
why aren't there any female drivers in the touring cars. We shouldn't be having to ask those questions. It should
Yeah.
just be readily a mix of
Yeah.
men and women.
And I think with motorsport, it almost feels normalized seeing that many men in the
It does.
sport and then seeing
Yeah.
a lack of women. So it's almost like young girls, some of them won't even question it because they're like, oh, but this is just what
Yeah.
happens. And it's
Yeah.
changing that perception for
Yeah.
them.
And it is, and it's the non-verbal. This, even if you're not talking about it, it's just if
Yeah.
there's no women on the screen, that they might not even ask the question. It might go through their head, it might not. But if you're seeing women, then you
Yeah.
are going to believe that there is a space for you. Seeing is believing, and that's, you know, no truer statement, especially in this space.
No, definitely. What do you think in 10 years' time motorsport is going to look like? What's your biggest hope and dream for it?
Well, without wanting to do myself out of a job, I'm hoping that, you know, there won't be the need to do such extensive work on trying
Yeah.
to bring more females into the sport and inspire those young girls, because there will be more women in the sport and there will
Yeah.
be the visibility there. There will be the people that are openly talking about, you know, not being asked the question of how do you feel being a woman in in motorsport, because there will be more of a 50-50 balance.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a long time. I hope that, you know, things continue to go in the way they are. I mean, there's never been a bigger time to get involved in the sort of sustainability and
Absolutely.
EDI space. It's such a
Yeah.
buzzword at the moment, as it should be, quite
Yeah.
rightly. Like, who cares what color you are, what ethnicity you are, what gender you are?
Yeah.
You can love anything as
Yeah.
much as the next person. So let's just strip it all back and just see us as bodies rather
Yeah.
than anything else. So that would be my hope, is that there are more women working in its industry. I'm getting more emails saying, I've now done this. Can I share my story? Can I get involved? Can I now inspire the next generation?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm hoping next year is obviously the big decade celebration for Girls on Track. So I'm
It's gonna
already
be exciting.
starting to plan what we're going to do. I want to make it really big. But hopefully in the next 10 years we'll have 50,000 in the community, and, you know, we'll just, safety in numbers, isn't it? It's about
100%.
supporting one another and about just being present.
And I think that's what Girls on Track has really done, because when you've spoken about some of the women that have gone on to get jobs in the industry and they come back and they want to talk about their experience and share their story,
Yeah.
it's really about that giving back. And I think that's what the community
100%.
does so well,
Yeah.
is they
Yeah.
get the opportunity, but they're willing to help other people up the ladder as well.
I absolutely agree with you. And I think it's because they feel so privileged to be in the position that they've been
Yeah.
in, and they will have had to work incredibly hard to get there. But the fact that they can now be considered as a role model, and 2, 3, 4, 5, however many years ago, they were sat in the audience listening to a panel thinking, I wish I could do her job.
Yeah.
And they're now sat there. That's a massive full circle moment. And it's really lovely from my side, being the program managers, to be able to facilitate those opportunities is just incredible.
So I was going to ask you, what has been your best memory as program manager at Girls
Oh
on Track?
my
What?
goodness. I can't think
Knew
of
it was going to be a
one.
difficult one.
There are so many, but I think it's one that really stands out to me is we did the Christmas celebration at the Royal Automobile Club in London in 2023. That was our first year at Christmas. And it was a community event, but it was coming together. It was Christmas celebration, summing up the year. So success stories and things. And we got some of the girls to do a Christmas wish. So little star, gift tag, write on it a Christmas wish. Could be a wish for the world, could be a wish for yourself, could be a personal one, professional, whatever. And they popped them in the bag and then we took them away with us. And I had an email probably a week later from a girl called Georgie. And she said to me, look, I just wanted to let you know, I've not told my parents yet, but my Christmas wish came true. And her Christmas wish was to get a graduate placement at Williams. And she said, I've literally just found out that I've been offered the position and I can't thank you enough. I would never have had the confidence or knowledge to do anything in this space without the opportunities that I've got through the community. And I'm not going to lie, I did well up. I was exhausted before Christmas. And it was so, so lovely. The fact she wanted to tell me before her parents was really, really lovely. And Georgie was the first time Georgie got involved was actually in 2018. And it was when we were Dare to Be Different, but it was when the FIA were delivering their Girls on Track program. And it was fundamentally, it was based on the karting. So it was, they did events in 7 European countries, I think it was. And girls would turn up to a car park, they would try a karting slalom. And then the quickest 3 from each country then went to Le Mans and raced head to head. And the quickest person got some funding, I think, for a seat the following season. So I had to organise the UK round and I wanted to make it more like what was a Dare to Be Different schools event, which was not just about the karting, but actually I want the 120 girls that come to have fun in the karting. If they come top 3, amazing. But I also want them to learn about more aspects of the sport. So we had a full-size Renault F1 car there at the time to do a pit stop challenge. We had science investigations, we had engineering challenges, we had role models, we had show cars, so that they left having gained confidence, knowledge, and awareness of the sport as a whole. And Georgie came to that event in 2018. And she sent me the picture of her sat in the Renault car, this really young 12, 13-year-old girl. And she said it was that event that inspired her to want to study motorsport engineering or motorsport mechanics. Can't quite remember which one at college. She went on to do that. And now she's, graduate placement at Williams. And it's just such a credit to the program and the impact that it can have.
Yeah.
And the importance of the initial inspirational school day or the initial inspiration days to then supporting and nurturing through the community to then allowing them to belong in that space, in that motorsport industry. And it's that pathway. And so that's one of my many stories. is a real highlight for me.
That sounds incredible. And I think I would have followed up for that email as well if I'd had something like that, because it is incredible. And the fact that she told you before telling anyone else, before telling their parents about that.
I felt very, very blessed.
No, that's amazing. And it's like you said, it's a credit to all the work you and Girls on Track are doing that you're seeing so many people move into the roles they want, but they're also remembering how much you will help them along the way as well.
Yeah. No, it's remember your roots, they say, don't they? To people that get really famous and stuff. And I think some people do and some people don't. And I think, because of the difference and the impact that, it can make connecting with someone, having a conversation, realizing you're not alone for feeling X, Y, and Z can make the biggest difference. So it's, as I said, it's an absolute privilege to facilitate these opportunities and to be making a difference in someone's life it's amazing.
I love that. And it's making a difference to so many people. But on the flip side of your best memory, what's probably been the most challenging thing that you've come up against?
Early days, it was tough trying to navigate my way through this motorsport landscape, politics that are involved in everything. And like I said, not really having much understanding of the sport other than just enjoying watching it as a fan. I think the importance of consistent and getting that key messaging right across social media. So one of the very first events I did was incredibly short notice. It was a girl guiding event at Ali Pali in London. And it was, I had to basically come up with an activity that we could do within a week's notice that would encourage people to come over to the stand and learn about what Dare to Be Different was. So I was like, right, okay, I'm still very much in my primary school teacher phase. So I got a big piece of mount board.
Yeah.
I'd made like a racetrack, and I'd done like a magnet on the bottom of the car, a magnet on the top, and it sort of went around. The girls loved it actually. It was really interactive, really got people
Yeah.
over to the stand. But at the time we didn't have much branding. We had one sort of backdrop banner, and it didn't look that professional. And I was doing the social media at the time, and I was just taking photos away and then posting them online. And let's just say it didn't give the best impression or image of what Dare to be Different was. So I learned very quickly the importance of photography and what needs to be in a picture to represent your brand. And it just shows the importance of your brand. You know, Susie's name was the brand. That was the person that was behind it. And you know, I don't do the social media, thank goodness. We have someone in the team to do it. But it is just even more so now, because it's, you know, this creation of a 9-year program. Like, it's so important to look right and to get that right messaging across. Because one bad post and you can lose 9 years of work. And, you know, so that's my biggest learning. But fortunately, I do take photos, and I love taking photos, but they always get vetted first for social media quality. We live and learn.
Definitely. I was going to say, I think motorsport, just like any job, it's just about learning from those mistakes and taking
100%.
those learnings forward.
And owning them and saying, look, I'm really sorry. That wasn't my comfort zone, but I'll learn for next time.
No, definitely. And my last final question for you is just for girls in general looking at getting into motorsport, what would be your message to them?
Don't overthink it. If that is where you feel your passion is and you're willing to work hard, it's not all glamour and glitz. It's very lot, especially if you're going to be trackside. It's very, very long days, a lot of traveling, a lot of missing out on people's birthdays and weddings and things, because the calendar cannot change around your social calendar. But it's so much fun when you're there. And, you know, it really is a big family. It's very, very supportive, and you'll love it. So don't let anything stop you. Don't let anyone stop you, and just believe in yourself and go for it.
Brill, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Lovely to chat with you.
I hope you guys enjoyed that chat from Jenny. I am going to leave the link for the Girls on Track Facebook community in the show notes, so check it out and join if you want to. They are an incredibly supportive group, guys. I couldn't emphasize that more. The opportunities that pop up on there are amazing. So many people sharing different volunteering ads, different job ads, asking for advice and help, and even away from careers. It's about having that community there of girls who enjoy motorsport and supporting them and just enjoying the sport together. So make sure to check it out and join if you want to. As usual, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at stewards_office. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. But thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you guys the next time you're summoned to the Steward's office.